right, welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon reviews. 4 reviews up. No, actually, it's 3 reviews, 1 impression. I keep forgetting that impressions have cropped up a lot more this year. But this is not one of them. This is a proper review of a game called Super Nano Blaster. As you might be able to surmise from the footage that we are displaying on screen right now, this is a shmup, a vertically oriented shmup in the classical style. Definitely in the stylings of the classics, because this doesn't play much like a classic shmup, unless that shmup is, say, Ikaruga. And even then, I bring that up because Ikaruga had a specific gimmick. If you've never played that particular shooter, that's the one where you switch your color from black to white and deal with the bullets and the entire defense, offense. Everything is aligned along those axes. Something similar going on here, though I would definitely say not as in depth, because the big gimmick here is the ability to switch dimensions. And yeah, that amounts more to puzzle solving. I know that's weird to say in a shmup, and it's it's in the most technical terms I bring this up, but it is you've got to maneuver the spaces and the shadows in the proper space, for example. And that's what it's mainly used for, if I'm being honest. As far as combat goes, it's like some enemies are in the one space, some of them are in the other space. I don't think they've given a proper designation to the actual spaces. It's just you're flipping dimensions, and you do that to get through a level, among other things. Though it's not the only gimmick that you'll find in this game. A couple levels down the line, you'll have to deal with colored switches, for example. And like I said, this game is a lot more gimmicky than your typical shmup. And I don't know, I had mixed feelings about that, because I'm on the one hand, it definitely gives the game a distinct flavor. I can't really shockingly, I can't really think of a shmup from the 90s or what have you that really did this dimension flipping gimmick. I'm not saying it's not out there, but it doesn't come to mind, at least to me. But I'll be honest here, I do find the gimmick a bit shallow. It's used for the most perfunctory measures, for the most part. And I think more could have been done with it. But, as it is, it's competent. As far as shmup gimmicks go, definitely less intrusive, trying to make sure you've hit the colored door marker and you don't actually hit it again, because, this is emulating 90s shmups, so you've got a constant fire rate, but it's every time you hit the colored section, it will open and close the doors. It's kind of antithetical to how these things work, is what I'm saying. But once again, it's not a deal breaker. Let's see. As far as how difficult this shmup is, well, it's got a variable difficulty level. I will preface that out right now. But on normal level, it's actually a fairly forgiving shmup. Because, once again, if you've noticed in the footage, you might have seen checkpoints. And yeah, this game has checkpoints, which is a style of shmup that is actually fairly divisive, because, okay, how it usually works is 2 camps. You've got the checkpoint system, think R-type, Gradius, what have you. That's where, if you die, not only do you lose all your powers, but you get spirited back to a certain point, versus the instant regeneration shmup. That like honestly, a lot of vertical shmups use that system. You know, where you die and another ship gets generated here. That being said, how this game works is definitely more forgiving than, say, R-Type. Like, the checkpoints are much closer to each other than you'd find in, like, R-Type, which gave you maybe the one midpoint. Like, then there was, like, Super R-Type, which I think didn't even bother with that. I could be misremembering, but point is, like, the checkpoint sections are much shorter than what you'd find in a classic shmup. So it's got that going for it. And there are no lives here either. And there are no real power-ups. I'll get into that in a bit, because it does things in a different way. And
are there power sidewayses?
Ships. It's like, yeah, the power-ups work like this. Throughout the games, you will unlock different ships. Some are like just when you reach a certain point in the level. Some are actually locked off in hidden recluses or hard to reach parts, which you actually do have to like maneuver through the dimensions. Probably the cleverest use of the gimmick I saw in my time playing the game. And you know, spoiler alert that you know the hard to reach ships are much better than what you get stock or you know just natural progression. Like I got the bounce ship, which, as its name entails, has its bullets bounce off the walls. So you know, it's basically giving you the reflective shots.
And I see we have layers here.
Yes, that's as I was explaining beforehand, that is the dimension hopping gimmick.
Yeah, no, I just got here due to Mac trying to figure out how to fucking play a strategy RPG in Japanese.
Yes.
So yeah, I was observing that at first I just thought you kept getting blown up, but that wasn't happening.
No. I mean, you can certainly get blowed up, and you know this game is.
He was dodging right before he was getting hit. So
I'm talking about this game, Super Nano Blaster.
Right. No, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
When Petty Fan was playing it, he was dodging the boss's shots right as he was getting hit, so it looked like he was just exploding, but the game was like reloading to him not being dead or something.
Yeah, and when it comes to
figure out it was layers.
Yeah. When it comes to the bosses, a lot of it's dodging shots through dimensions. That will become more prevalent as you go through the game. Like, anyway,
are there any enemies that can shoot in multiple dimensions at once?
Yes, and once again, that goes back to the boss factor.
Okay.
You know, it's like that's kind of like later stage bosses, but you know, you will have to, you know, time your jumping. Once again, this game does find the occasional creative use of the gimmick, but it's like, you know, it's overall still more shallow than I would have liked. Like,
fair enough.
Anyway, so in terms of power-ups, so you got the ships, but Petty's also showed off the overclock system. And that is, you know, as you are shooting enemies, your meter on the right there will build up until it hits blue. And then, you know, once that's powered up, you can unleash the fury of bullet hell and slow-mo, especially when you first go in. And also worth noting, this works in conjunction with the different ships, as in the different ships have different shoot types, and that extends to their overclock mode. And outside of that, that's it for power-ups. It's very slim in that regard, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Because once again, this game claims it's in the retro stylings, and I would actually say no, it's not. This game is way too forgiving. At least, once again, on normal mode, there are harder modes available, but it's like, this is still fairly soft. You know, another thing is it doesn't have lives. That's working in conjunction with the checkpoint system. You know, you go to the checkpoints, you die, you go back to the checkpoint, and the incentive there is score. Like if you reach a checkpoint, and you don't die, you get a score bonus. How much that matters to you is variable, but that's what's at stake there. And you know, I would say the modernity also is reflected in its actual art style, how it looks. Like, we didn't get shmups that looked like this back in the day. This looks like something that was generated today. Just the minimalist art style is more reflective because, you know, classic 90s shmups went balls to the wall in terms of like their art style and everything. Very loud, very bombastic. Really the opposite of what we got here.
Yeah, back in the day, most games that had fans that were trying to be artistic about it were trying to show off how many pixels they had and shit, not trying to, in this age of minimum pixels, trying to make something look good with as few as possible.
Yeah. So, like I said, I would say that, this is a very, very good modern shmup. You know, if you're looking something in the classical style, we've covered other games that would probably serve you better, like last year's Demonizer or the Vasara collection, which we covered a few months ago. But you know, as a actual shmup, I give this a hearty recommendation. You know, it's not amazing or anything, but it's a solid shooter. Like, I think the weakest aspect, though, is the music. Because once again, 90s shmups were pretty renowned for their soundtracks, and this is more in line with its art style, very minimalist, very ambient, very forgettable. Yeah. Like, unfortunate, but it's not a deal breaker. Like, let's see.
I still have some of the songs from Darius Twin stuck in my head.
I don't doubt it. Like, but anyway, let's see. So I think that's the mapping out of the game there. In terms of pricing, this game will set you back $12. Like, I think this game can justify that price. Like I said, you know, this game has actually a lot going for it, especially in comparison to some other shmups we've reviewed. And, you know, if nothing else, it's staking out its own path, which is rare for this genre, especially in these modern times. So, you know, always good to recommend something that has its own identity, so to speak. Not saying that retro throwbacks are bad or anything, but, you know, I couldn't compare this to, say, Gigawing or, you know, Mars Matrix or 1,000 other shmups from back in the day. It's definitely very much its own thing. And yeah, let's see. There are versions for the PC and Mac. And I think this is only on the PC right now, you know, PC platforms right now. No idea if it's coming to consoles, but it wouldn't surprise me if this is the kind of game that at least appears on the Nintendo Switch. Like, but yeah, good 7 out of 10 shooter. Let's see. And any other questions, comments, or concerns about Super Nano Blaster?
I think I'm good.
All right.
I think I'm good too.
All right, so that'll about do it for Super Nano Blaster here. Be sure to tune in after the break, as Petty Fan will be reviewing Iron Sea Defenders.